Here's a truth many avoid confronting. Attention is a currency. Spend it too freely on a woman, and its value diminishes in her eyes. The relentless pursuit, excessive texting, constant chasing, or trying too hard to impress often backfires, leading her to lose interest. Why? Because women are naturally inclined to cherish what requires effort to attain. Over-availability erodes curiosity. This isn't about manipulation. It's rooted in human psychology. A carefully measured approach, like selectively pulling back your attention, alters the dynamic. Suddenly, she starts questioning, why isn't he replying? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? These tiny doubts can evolve into genuine attraction. Women often desire what feels just out of reach, but beware, there's a fine line. Missteps like ignoring her out of spite or overdoing detachment can send the wrong signals and derail the entire effort. The key isn't about punishment, it's about creating a dynamic where your value shines through. When you establish standards, boundaries, and a fulfilling life independent of her, you project confidence and self-respect. Society often tells men to be perpetually nice, consistent, and readily available. However, the man who knows how to strike a balance, being attentive yet unpredictable, stands out from the crowd. His allure lies in his ability to be intriguing, not desperate. That unpredictability draws attention and sparks curiosity. Understanding the subtle psychology behind selectively withdrawing attention can revolutionize your interactions. By mastering this, you shift from chasing her to creating space for her to gravitate toward you. Let's explore how this dynamic works, how to implement it effectively, and how to recognize when she's taking notice. This perspective can transform your approach and elevate your results. Number 1. Why being overly available can render you invisible is a tough truth to grasp. When you're always within reach, the excitement and desirability you once had start to fade. Predictability sets in, and she begins to see you as someone who's always there, no matter what. Here's the reality. Things that are always accessible lose their allure. It's basic human nature. We take abundance for granted and yearn for what's scarce. Consider this. Constantly replying to her texts the moment they come through, dropping everything to meet her, or checking in all the time might seem like you're demonstrating care. But the message she's receiving is starkly different. I don't have much going on outside of you. It's not about manipulation, it's about understanding attraction. Women naturally gravitate toward men who exude purpose, ambition, and independence. Being overly available not only removes the element of mystery, but also eliminates the tension and spark essential for keeping her engaged. A man who's always present isn't a challenge, and challenge often fuels attraction. Imagine a scenario. You've been messaging her nonstop, replying within seconds. Initially, she might enjoy the attention, but it soon becomes monotonous. Then one day you shift gears. You take your time to respond, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely busy and engaged in your own life. Suddenly, questions arise in her mind. Why hasn't he replied? What's he doing? That hint of uncertainty can reignite her interest. Being less available isn't about ignoring her or acting out of malice. It's about showing that you have priorities and ambitions that don't revolve solely around her. It's a subtle way of building intrigue and allowing her to miss your presence. Striking the right balance, neither too available nor too detached, is key. When she sees that your life is driven by purpose and direction, you become more than just someone she knows. You become someone worth noticing again. In relationships, less can often be more. By reducing your availability, you create space for her to value and appreciate your time. That's when the dynamic shifts and the connection deepens. Number 2, the underestimated power of silence can work wonders in a world that thrives on constant connection. When you step back, stopping the calls, halting the texts, and allowing space to grow, you're doing more than simply being quiet. You're creating a void, and nature has a way of filling voids. That emptiness stirs her curiosity, nudging her to think about you, wonder about your actions, and even question whether she still has your attention. Here's the nuance. Silence isn't about ignoring her out of frustration or malice. It's about offering her the chance to feel what life is like without you constantly in her space. When you're always the one to reach out, she doesn't have time to reflect or appreciate. But when silence enters the picture, it triggers her to ask questions. Why the quiet? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? These small doubts create emotional tension, and tension often breeds attraction. Women rarely miss what's always present. What they truly long for is what feels just out of their grasp, or what they sense they might be losing. Your silence plants the subtle idea that you're not as readily available as she once thought. It's not an act of cruelty. It's a strategy to allow her the space to value your presence and notice the absence when you're not there. For instance, imagine you habitually send her a good morning text every day. It's predictable, expected, and over time, easily overlooked. Then one day you stop. On the first day, she might not think much of it. By the second, she starts to notice. By the third, she's checking her phone more frequently, questioning why she hasn't heard from you. That shift compels her to take the initiative, flipping the dynamic. She begins seeking your attention instead of the other way around. Silence isn't about being cold or distant. It's a deliberate move to create balance. Confidence is the linchpin here. Silence works most effectively when you're secure in yourself, focused on your goals and unbothered by the outcome. It's not about sulking or waiting anxiously for her to notice. Instead, it's about trusting the vacuum you've created to naturally draw her back. When you let her experience what it's like to miss you, the shift in the dynamic is profound. Silence, when used wisely, becomes a tool that strengthens her appreciation for your presence. Number 3, the fastest way to lose her interest in today's hyper-connected world is by falling into the trap of overloading her with attention. Many believe that constant messages, frequent calls, and being perpetually available will strengthen the connection. The truth? This approach often backfires. When you flood her with your time and energy, it can feel suffocating. Instead of making her feel valued, she begins to feel overwhelmed, like someone is constantly in her personal space. Just as anyone else would, she craves breathing room. Relationships thrive on balance and autonomy, and when you're always present, you inadvertently strip away that vital space. Another issue with excessive attention is the impression it gives. It signals desperation, which is inherently unattractive. Desperation implies a lack of confidence and independence, as if your entire world revolves around her. This diminishes your perceived value and shifts the dynamic, making it seem like her validation is the cornerstone of your happiness. Moreover, over-attention destroys mystery and intrigue. Relationships flourish when there's a bit of unpredictability and excitement. If every interaction becomes routine and predictable, the spark fades. She stops looking forward to your presence because it feels mundane, and the thrill of the connection wanes. Attention overload also hinders personal growth. By focusing all your energy on her, you neglect your own needs, passions, and interests. This imbalance can strain the relationship. A man who leads a fulfilling, independent life is inherently more attractive. He brings richness and depth to the connection. Additionally, constant availability denies her the chance to miss you. Absence fosters longing and deepens appreciation for the moments you share. If you're always there, she never experiences that emotional pull, and the bond remains superficial. The key to avoiding attention overload lies in balance. Show care and genuine interest, but also maintain your individuality. Prioritize your goals, passions, and personal growth while giving her the space she needs. This balance not only protects your independence, but also strengthens her attraction and appreciation for you. Remember, less is often more when it comes to building a meaningful and lasting connection. By creating space for both of you to grow individually, you nurture a dynamic that keeps the relationship vibrant and compelling. Number 4. How ignoring sparks her curiosity is a concept rooted in reclaiming your power. Many men mistakenly believe that relentless pursuit, constant texting, always being the first to initiate, and hovering around her will win her over. In reality, this predictability doesn't fuel attraction, it extinguishes it. Predictable behavior leads to boredom, and boredom is the enemy of desire. Ignoring isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding a fundamental truth of human nature. People are naturally intrigued by what they can't fully control or comprehend. When you step back and withhold constant attention, you introduce an element of mystery. She starts to wonder why you're not behaving like the others who clamor for her approval. That curiosity begins to take root, creating an invisible pull that keeps you on her mind even when you're absent. However, let's be clear, ignoring only works when it comes from a place of genuine self-assurance. If your withdrawal is driven by bitterness, frustration, or an attempt to punish her, it won't have the desired effect. Women can easily sense resentment, and such behavior only reinforces insecurity. The real power lies in shifting your focus inward. This isn't about using your own growth as a tactic, but embracing it as a way of life. Stop centering your actions around her. When you authentically prioritize your ambitions, goals, and well-being, the energy dynamic changes naturally. That shift is what piques her curiosity. Many men make the mistake of being too accessible, always saying yes, always available, always eager to please. But where's the challenge in that? Without challenge, there's no excitement. Women are drawn to men who exude confidence and self-assurance, who live with purpose, and who don't revolve their lives around others. Healthy ignoring, focusing on your own growth and not chasing her validation, does more than trigger curiosity. It earns respect. She starts to wonder why you're different, why you're not chasing her like the others. That's when the tables turn, and she begins to pursue you. Stop overextending yourself to prove your worth. Instead, embody the man who knows his value and isn't afraid to walk away when necessary. Curiosity, sparked by your self-assured detachment, becomes the foundation of genuine attraction. Number 5, scarcity amplifies value, and this psychological truth holds just as much weight in relationships as it does elsewhere. People, including women, inherently value what feels rare or exclusive. When something is always within reach, it's easy to overlook or take for granted. But when it feels just out of reach, it becomes exponentially more desirable. If you're constantly available, always saying yes, always within arm's reach, you unintentionally diminish your worth in her eyes. By being ever present, you send the message that your time, energy, and attention are easily obtainable, and thus less valuable. The absence of challenge or intrigue drains the dynamic of excitement and allure. When you consciously step back and make your presence more selective, you introduce an element of scarcity. Scarcity doesn't mean manipulation or toxic games. It's about shifting the focus inward. Instead of centering your actions around her approval, you prioritize your own ambitions and well-being. This recalibration naturally makes your time and attention feel like a precious commodity. When your time becomes limited, it forces her to reconsider how she treats you. She starts to view your attention as a privilege rather than a guarantee. The shift in energy is subtle but powerful. It communicates confidence, independence, and self-assurance. You no longer seek validation, you embody value. This scarcity makes you stand out. A man who exudes self-worth, who doesn't hinge his happiness on her approval, is magnetically appealing. When she realizes you're not someone she can have on demand, it compels her to put in the effort to win your attention. The thrill of uncertainty, the pull of mystery, and the allure of exclusivity all become key drivers of her interest. Contrast this with being overly available. Predictability. Predictability erodes excitement. It's the guarantee that makes her disengage, leaving no room for curiosity or the thrill of the chase. By offering your attention sparingly and intentionally, you fuel her desire for it. This isn't arrogance, it's a reflection of your recognition of self-worth. A man who knows his value doesn't scatter his energy carelessly. He reserves it for what aligns with his goals and happiness. When you embody this mindset, you project an aura of scarcity that shifts her perception. You're no longer just another option, but someone rare and captivating, someone she can't easily have. And in her mind, that transforms you into something priceless. Number 6, abandon the chase and step into leadership. It's time to reframe the way you approach attraction. Society, movies, and music often paint chasing as the way to win someone over. But the reality is starkly different. Chasing places you in a submissive role, one where you're following rather than leading. And that dynamic doesn't foster respect or attraction. Women are inherently drawn to leaders, not followers. When you chase, you signal that she's the prize, and you're scrambling for her approval. While appreciation and pursuit have their place in balanced relationships, excessive chasing crosses the line into overcompensation. Often, this behavior stems from insecurity, a belief that if you just do more, she'll finally see your worth. But here's the truth. Chasing diminishes your value in her eyes because it radiates desperation. And desperation is a surefire attraction killer. True leadership is rooted in self-assurance. It's about knowing what you want and moving toward it with confidence, without requiring anyone else's validation, not even hers. When you stop chasing and start leading, you change the narrative. You're no longer vying for her attention. Instead, you're inviting her to share in a life that's already fulfilling and compelling. That shift in energy is magnetic. Consider two scenarios. In the first, a man constantly texts and calls, restructuring his entire day around a woman's responses. His presence feels overwhelming, and she instinctively pulls away. Now picture another man who has his own plans, ambitions, and passions. He doesn't flood her with attention or alter his schedule to accommodate her whims. Instead, he focuses on his goals, makes deliberate moves, and lets her naturally gravitate toward him. The second man exudes leadership, and his composed confidence is far more appealing. Leadership isn't about control, it's about direction. It's about showing her that you have a path worth walking, one that you'll pursue with or without her. This doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. It's about prioritizing your own growth and goals first. When she sees that strength, she'll be drawn to it, not out of obligation, but out of genuine interest and admiration. Stop chasing, start leading. When you focus on living a purposeful and driven life, you inspire her to want to be part of it. That's the key to building respect, attraction, and a relationship grounded in mutual value. Number 7, when ignoring becomes attractive, confidence. Confidence is one of the most alluring traits a man can possess, but true confidence doesn't shout, it whispers. It's subtle, effortless, and often most powerfully expressed through what you choose to ignore. Ignoring isn't about being dismissive or rude. It's about understanding your value and refusing to let external validation define you. When done correctly, ignoring demonstrates self-assurance, a quality that naturally draws women in. Picture this: a man who constantly seeks approval, over-explains himself, or tirelessly chases a woman doesn't exude confidence. Instead, he communicates a need for affirmation, which can come across as insecurity. Contrast this with a man who is selective about where he invests his energy and doesn't feel the need to respond immediately to every message or situation. His actions say, "I know my worth and I don't require anyone else's attention to feel complete." This quiet self-assurance is magnetic, creating intrigue and admiration. Ignoring strategically isn't about playing manipulative games. It's about setting boundaries and prioritizing your own goals and happiness. It sends a clear message: I value my time and won't squander it on things that don't align with my purpose. This mindset not only establishes your independence, but also sets you apart from men who constantly seek validation. Consider a scenario. A woman used to men tripping over themselves to gain her attention suddenly encounters someone different. He's polite, engaging, but not overly complimentary or desperate to impress. He's focused on his ambitions, confident in himself, and doesn't make her the center of his world. This absence of neediness is intriguing. She finds herself asking, why isn't he like the others? What makes him so secure? The key is balance. Ignoring doesn't mean shutting people out or being indifferent. It means prioritizing what's essential to you. A confident man leads a fulfilling life centered on his growth, passions, and goals. This doesn't just build his confidence, it makes him undeniably attractive. Confidence isn't in the words you speak, it's in the way you carry yourself, the energy you bring into a room, and your ability to remain grounded in your worth. When you stop chasing validation and focus on living authentically, ignoring becomes a natural extension of your self-assurance. This quiet confidence is the kind no woman can resist. Number 8. How to create emotional investment by pulling back. True emotional investment doesn't happen by constantly giving. It flourishes in the space where both people contribute equally to a connection. If you're always the one chasing, always the one giving, you rob the other person of the chance to invest in you. By pulling back, you create the conditions for emotional investment to grow naturally and meaningfully. When you take a step back, you allow her to notice your absence and reflect on your importance in her life. This isn't about being manipulative or playing games. It's about balancing the scales. People naturally value what they have to work for, and relationships are no exception. Imagine this. If you're constantly available, always initiating contact, and making all the plans, you become predictable and over time may be taken for granted. But when you pull back, you create a subtle shift. She begins to notice the lack of effort she's been putting in and realizes that if she wants to keep you around, she needs to show interest and effort as well. This doesn't mean disappearing or giving her the silent treatment. It means prioritizing your own life, goals, and well-being over chasing her approval. Show her that your world doesn't revolve entirely around her, and she'll begin to see your independence and self-worth. Here's why this works. Curiosity and intrigue. When you're not constantly available, you create a sense of mystery. She starts to wonder what you're doing and why you're not reaching out as much. This curiosity triggers emotional uncertainty, which leads to a stronger pull toward you. Rebalancing the dynamic. Pulling back shifts the responsibility for maintaining the relationship. Instead of you carrying the load, she starts stepping forward to fill the space you've left. This effort on her part fosters her emotional connection to you, demonstrating value. Your time and attention are valuable. By pulling back, you subtly communicate that these are not guaranteed. They must be earned. This doesn't come across as arrogance, but as a quiet confidence that makes you more attractive. Encouraging reflection. Absence creates the opportunity for her to miss you. When you're not always around, she has the space to think about what you bring to her life and how much she values your presence. Pulling back doesn't mean neglecting or ignoring her. It's about striking a healthy balance. It's about respecting your own boundaries and allowing her to recognize your worth on her own terms. When you stop overgiving and create space for her to invest in you, you build a foundation of mutual respect and interest. Emotional investment grows not in chasing, but in the delicate dance of give and take, where both partners step forward in turn. This is how you create a relationship that's not just balanced, but deeply connected. By pulling back, you open the door for her to step forward, and that's where true emotional connection happens. Number 9, the fine line between ignoring and neglecting. Here's a truth that can't be overstated. The difference between ignoring and neglecting can make or break your relationship. While ignoring, when used wisely, can spark curiosity and attraction, neglecting leads to emotional disconnection and eventual disinterest. Ignoring versus neglecting. Ignoring. This is strategic and intentional. You step back just enough to create space, giving her the opportunity to think about you and appreciate your presence. It's rooted in confidence and respect, showing that you value your time and energy. Neglecting. This is careless and damaging. It involves failing to acknowledge her needs or emotions, leaving her to feel invisible or unimportant. Neglecting isn't about creating intrigue, it's about a lack of effort, which erodes trust and connection. Why ignoring works. When done correctly, ignoring creates an air of mystery and encourages her to invest in the relationship. She begins to wonder about you, to miss your attention, and to value the moments when you are present. However, this only works if the foundation of the relationship is strong and there's mutual respect. Ignoring works because it's balanced. It's not about withholding attention entirely, but about stepping back enough to maintain a healthy dynamic. Why neglecting fails. Neglecting, on the other hand, is a sign of emotional laziness. It shows that you're not willing to put in the effort to nurture the connection. When you neglect her, you're not just creating space, you're creating doubt about your feelings, your intentions, and the future of the relationship. Women need to feel valued, heard, and seen. Neglect robs them of that security, making them question their importance in your life. Finding the balanced intentional space, pulling back should never leave her questioning whether you care. Instead, it should remind her of your value and allow her the opportunity to show hers. Consistent effort. Even if you're stepping back, ensure there's still consistent communication and meaningful interaction. This shows that you're still emotionally present, even if you're not constantly available. Read her cues. If she's expressing concern or confusion about your behavior, it's a sign you may have crossed the line into neglect. Listen, adjust, and reestablish balance. Respect and reassurance. Ignoring only works if it's paired with respect. Make it clear that you value her and the relationship, even as you prioritize your own goals and needs. The key takeaway: ignoring can be a powerful tool to maintain attraction and keep the relationship dynamic fresh, but it must be handled with care and intention. Neglecting, on the other hand, is a surefire way to lose her trust and interest. By walking the fine line between ignoring and neglecting, you demonstrate confidence without arrogance, independence without indifference, and respect without overdependence. That balance is what keeps her intrigued, valued, and emotionally invested. Number 10, ignoring works better than pleading. Let's get one thing straight. Pleading, begging, or chasing after someone's attention is one of the quickest ways to lose respect and attraction. It may seem like the right thing to do when you're emotionally invested, but the truth is it signals weakness and desperation, and that's the last thing you want to communicate. Why pleading undermines your value? When you beg or plead for someone's attention, you're essentially telling them that you need them more than they need you. This positions you in a subordinate role, and let's face it, no one finds that attractive. Women in particular are drawn to strength, independence, and confidence. They want someone who's secure enough not to beg for their affection. Pleading and chasing put you in a position where you're hoping for them to come around, which only diminishes your value in their eyes. On the flip side, ignoring communicates a powerful message. You're not dependent on anyone for validation. The power of ignoring, when done correctly, is a sign of self-respect and emotional maturity. It's about setting boundaries and maintaining your dignity. You're showing that you have a life, goals, and passions of your own. Your confidence doesn't hinge on their approval. This subtle shift in energy is incredibly attractive. When you pull back, you give her the space she needs to think, reflect, and miss you. If you're always available, there's no opportunity for her to realize what she might be losing. But when you step back, you give her the chance to consider your absence and to value your presence. The danger of pleading and overextending yourself. Chasing and begging are overwhelming. They don't give her any space to breathe or make her own decisions. Ignoring creates the necessary space for attraction to grow, making her wonder why you're no longer chasing her. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be uninterested. It's about knowing your worth and not being afraid to walk away if the interest isn't mutual. When you stop pleading, you stop begging for validation. You command respect through your actions and show that you're fine either way. If she wants to be with you, she'll make the effort. If not, you're secure enough to move on. Creating balance through actions, not desperation. Ignoring works because it communicates strength, independence, and emotional maturity. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about setting the tone for how you expect to be treated. You show that you either want to be with her or you don't, and you're completely fine with either outcome. If you're constantly reaching out, making all the effort, and chasing her, you're already losing. The more you beg or overextend yourself, the less respect she'll have for you. Women are not attracted to desperation. They're attracted to a man who can stand his ground, who has confidence, and who knows his worth. The shift in energy. When you stop chasing and start leading, you create space for her to come to you. Ignoring isn't about playing games. It's about preserving your dignity and maintaining a healthy dynamic in the relationship. Once you stop pleading, you'll notice how your energy changes. She'll start wondering why you're not chasing her anymore, and that curiosity will draw her in. But I want to hear from you what your experience has been with ignoring versus pleading. Have you seen this strategy work in your own life, or did it backfire? Comment below and let me know. I'll personally reach out to connect. Remember, confidence is key. When you stop pleading, you take back control, and that shift in energy is what makes you truly irresistible.